think, to confuse them. Actually, I don't really know why, but it says take those three, which are breathing, sense powers, and mind, or living tissue and consciousness. Yeah, but I'm interested in consciousness because of the content of the entire course. Take those three. They did not come from the elements alone, because the elements are not a living being. So what he's saying to them is, you telling me that the element of fire and earth and water, or if we use the Western terms, you know, the carbon and the rest that make up the cells, do you think if they are similar stuff, they must have little tiny creatures inside of them that turn into big creatures? That's what he's saying to them. It's like, obviously the chemicals alone aren't. If they have life, then they must have little tiny men inside them. He's saying, he's being silly. Yeah, the mind is not similar to the physical matter, nor limited to the physical body. The mind can go here and there. So because the elements are not living being, it doesn't come from chemicals. So you can't get a rock and turn it into a mind or anything. That's what he's saying. His argument number 3. In his argument number 4, I really like this argument. I'd like you to think about this one. He says, take the mind. It is not something which does not cross into the next life. It is not something which does not cross into the next life because of the mind's ability to continue itself, which was part of this conversation we had just now. So he's saying, the mind seems to have this practice that this moment produces that moment, that this moment, we've done this for 70 years or 80 years. We have this habituation that the mind produces the next state of mind, produces it, and all of a sudden you're telling me that quality of consciousness stops because the body got smashed. You're saying for 70 years or 80 years, it has this capacity to cross up, to continue itself. Yeah, that's why kids at school, we teach them stuff, and then their consciousness, their awareness, their knowing keeps that stuff, grows that stuff, and it produces the next stuff. That's how you can get an engineer. You put enough boring things in them, you get you know what I'm saying? So he's arguing here, his argument number 4, he's going, take the mind. It is not something which does not cross into the next life because of the mind's ability to continue itself. He's saying moment after moment it has been continuing itself for 70, 80 years, whatever it is. And all of a sudden that whole quality of the thing stops. He says, you prove to me that that stops. Like, why would that stop? Why would that quality stop? So I like that a lot. That suddenly stops happening. That flopping over to the next moment, flopping over to the next moment, flopping over to all of a sudden that stops, right? But you prove it to me, he says, which is nice. Now, question number 5, sorry, should you be asked these questions in the exam, you might have to prove number 5, elements. He talks about the elements. He goes, take the elements now. They are not the cause of the 3. So he reverses the argument, because there should never be cases where the elements fail to cause these 3. So he says, okay, let's stop arguing about mind as sense. Let's talk in reverse. Let's talk at the elements. If the elements produce mind and living matter, the elements, they are not the cause of the 3 because there should never be cases where the elements fail to produce these 3. So if you grab just enough of the chemicals in this fact, or the elements in this argument, if you did you see that? It's a little electric. If you grabbed enough of those things, put them on a petri dish, like I said in reverse before, every time you put just the right quantity of them, a mind should pop. And it doesn't. Sometimes you get sperm and egg come together and they don't produce a mind. The body stops, or the cells stop dividing, or something missing. They could be a contributing factor. So anyway, that's his argument number 5. And then he goes,
Wait, sorry.
yeah.
Because you're saying sometimes the sperm and the egg might get together, but they stop and they. But isn't there a mind the moment they get together?
I knew as soon as I said that, someone would catch me. According to them, yes. According to Dharmakirti and us, yes.
Right.
But he's arguing against somebody else, and he's saying, well, he didn't say what I just said.
Right,
yeah?
no, I know. I just wanted to make sure that.
One of the ways that you argue something is you must grab their ideas, which is what he's doing. He's saying, you're saying it's just chemicals. Well, let's look at the mind. Is it produced by this chemical? Let's look at the impulse of breathing. Is it produced by these chemicals? Let's look at the impulse of the sense powers. Is it produced by these chemicals?
Okay.
And then he reverses. Look at the chemicals. Did they produce that thing? Did they produce? Yeah. I just misused that argument by extending a little bit. I knew as soon as I said it, you catch me. Damn it. According to us, yeah, as soon as the egg and sperm meet, mind is there. Some kind of awareness is there. Correct.
But it might not stay. It might not stay.
Yeah, yeah. But if you had enough of the argument here is if you had enough carbon and whatever we deem to be the chemicals for living matter, how come you can grab them all, put them in a box, and there isn't life? If they do produce mind, then every single time you put them together, they must produce it. If there's one instance that they don't, that's not the cause. There's something else causing it. It's not the Nirlangi cure. It could be a contributing factor, right? That's 5. Number 6, also a little silly. He says, take the elements, right, as many as there are. They are not the cause of the 3 because of multiple elements should cause multiple people or minds. Yeah, so it's like saying if you have 5 things come together that are different, or how do I do it? If you have 20 spoons of air and water, and you should have 20 things come up. How much of the elements are you wanting to produce the next thing? Let's see it. Let's read it again, see if it makes sense. Take the elements. They are not the cause of the 3 because multiple elements would cause multiple people or multiple things. So does having 5 elements produce 5 minds? Is it air that is the Nirlangi cure and the other are contributing factors? If you're saying it's all of them, then shouldn't all of them flop over into mind and mind each? Or something like that. Yeah? This is just the arguments he's presenting. Not one of them will stand alone, like I said at the beginning. He didn't for me. But somehow then together they get close. And we'll wait to hear the next 4, so next week.
That's interesting about, because, like twins, it's like.
Oh, good, because there's 2 types of twins,
Yeah.
right? There's one with 2 sperm, 1 egg.
Yeah.
There's one with 2 egg, 2 sperm. Yeah?
Oh, the fraternal versus.
Is that true?
The
Identical versus
twins,
fraternal.
non-identical.
Yeah.
Right?
So let's think about it, let's think through it that way.
Well then.
1 egg, 2 sperm.
Yeah.
Did they produce 2 minds? Do identical twins share a mind?
No. Well,
Do they?
they don't share a mind, but they do. You hear those cases where sometimes
they do share perception.
they
share
feel.
perception.
Yeah.
They might not share their mind, but their mind are very, very connected.
They're
Very
very connected. Can you have a very connected mind to a mind that's not shared? Like according to us, there's no sharing mind. They're all individual streams.
I guess you can, yes.
Can you have the karma to perceive that you're having a connection?
Sure.
Then that's not a contradiction in my mind. Can 3 minds have a shared karma of having a shared perception?
50 can have
50
the
can.
karma.
In
yes.
fact, that's what being human is.
Yeah.
Being human is sharing the karma that our reality is true this way, that things are seen this way. Being an animal is that's all. There's no realm separate to that idea. The shared karma a shared pramana that this is reality. That's what makes us human. It's not that we are human physically. Do you see? It's that we share the perception of what to name and call and do with this thing. It's a different way of looking and approaching it. We come from the basis of physicality, where we say, you know, you can point at something and divide it, and that's our prejudice. In fact, what you just touched, what you just talked about, twins, is if you look at the world that way, it makes a complete different sense. It makes sense in a different way. Because if that's true, then you find out what produces shared karma. Then you find out what produces shared perception. What karmas, what seeds, what neuralinked cues flop into. If everything has a cause, that must also be caused.
Mm-hmm. Like why certain people experience or see certain things.
Can you then see an angel? Can you then see a devil? Can you really see an experience as a valid perception? And can you share that with people? Can you have a planet where you meet an enlightened being? Can you have a pocket of the world where you have freedom? Is there freedom separate from the perception of those beings forced to experience that common karma? Now that's not the whole argument of past life. We're just trying to go and give some logic onto that. But this is the beautiful conclusion that if we follow this lure, the breadcrumbs that I talked about, that we get thrown in this thing that takes a lifetime to experience. First we intellectualize, then we experience. We habituate it through meditation, we walk out and test it, we get frustrated because we don't see it all the time. But gradually, if it's a truth, it will stick. You cannot stick it. In fact, that's what is horrible about the path, if there is anything, is that once you see a certain way, you can't not see it again, if it's a truth. With that, let's dedicate. Finished.
We didn't do the postcards.
We didn't do that?
Postcards.
Damn it, my fault. It was your turn, right?
Yeah.
We can do it now in 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
Do you want to do it before dedication or after? Do you want to be included in dedication?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that. Thank you.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
So it was very funny. I got an email from my mom asking me if on Saturday we could go to dinner for my sister's birthday. And then she writes in the email, "Did you tell your friends about me? Because I got some really nice cards, and I guess that I really did do well raising you."
Oh, how nice.
Oh my god! And so I wanted to say thank you to
Yeah.
everyone. That was like a breakthrough and a moment of whoa. Like that just totally changed our whole. And then I said something, and then she was like, "Oh, you made me cry, and we'll just talk to him Saturday." And
Oh,
it was
that's awesome.
amazing.
That's very nice.
It was amazing.
That's very nice. So let's, so I don't know if you know, for those of you that are here or not, we decided to do this thing that each of us will have somebody in our lives who needs a bit of attention and loving and something. So we're going to just spend 5 minutes every class to hear about somebody's special person. I got to go first with my godmother that I haven't called, so I don't know if she got anything. Then we're all going to write something amazing. We know I like Hector because Hector told me about you because you're sweet, or something, just a card. And then they get dumped with 20 cards, 15 cards, 30 cards. And then something like that happens. Yeah.
It was
So
amazing.
it was Doris's last week. So this week we have
We have 2 people actually.
2 people we have
That
in the
are
same
like,
card.
yeah, they're like.
Do you have
super-
cards?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I use
So I was thinking about my grandma, my mom's mom, and I would love you to write her something. She's 87, and she lives in Colombia, in Cali, where I'm from. But it's not only my grandma, but it's my uncle Antonio. And my tío Antonio, he has invested his life in taking care of my grandma and my grandpa. And he's like, he's a saint. He's a saint. He doesn't do anything else but doing that.
Wow.
24/7. I mean, he sleeps in the same room of my grandpa because my grandpa has all kind of things. He has Alzheimer and Parkinson, and he's frustrated, and he has like 10 nurses that like keep him alive, which is crazy to me, but that's what they have decided. And my grandma, she's very conscious. I mean, she can't walk that much, but I feel that she suffers a lot because she sees my grandpa, who is like, he's not anymore. I mean, he can't speak, but he's there. But it's very difficult for her, and I mean, it's a really difficult moment in my family because they're actually staying at my mom's and dad's house, which is yeah. So like they have occupied my room, my brother's room, my dad's like shop, and it's beautiful, but it's very hard, especially for them because they used to live in the suburbs and they were not able to live anymore there because it's too far away from the city and like they can't have like medical assistance there. And my grandma it's beautiful. She had 7 children. And she married. She's like, she used to be like back in the days, like she's like blonde and blue eyes, and then she married this black guy. And at that time, that was a real taboo. She's, I think she had to deal with all of like racism, and she was also at some point like kind of wealthy, but because of the history of Colombia, they got completely poor and like they got like their property got stolen, and she had to work a lot. I mean, she not only like took care of my 7 like uncles and aunts, but also she's the older, like all of her sisters and brothers. So she's like the mom, you know, like my family is a real Latino family, and like we like, you know, like spin around them. And like our Christmas are like gigantic, and when it's Mother's Day, it's like you are only gonna do that, you know. So she's like the center of our lives in a way. Like my grandma, it's a big figure, you know, like it's a big like. I think that's why I respect so much Virgin Mary. It's like so important for me because she's like an amazing example of like being a woman and taking care of, and she is amazing. Used to be an amazing cook, and she sews a lot. Used to sew a lot. And my uncle